Further on in part 2, we have chapter 7, The Quest of the Golden Fleece, which is going to be multiple programs, obviously. This is the title of a long poem, very popular in classical days, by the 3rd century poet Apollonius of Rhodes. He tells the whole story of the quest except the part about Jason and Peleus, which I have taken from Pindar. It is the subject of one of his most famous odes, written in the first half of the 5th century BCE. Apollonius ends his poem with the return of the heroes to Greece. I have added the account of what Jason and Medea did there, taking it from the 5th century tragic poet Euripides, who made it the subject of one of his best plays. These three writers are very unlike each other. No prose paraphrase can give any idea of Pindar except, perhaps, something of his singular power for vivid and minutely detailed descriptions. Readers of the Aeneid will be reminded of Virgil by Apollonius. The difference between Euripides, Medea, and Apollonius, heroine, and also Virgil's Dido, is, in its degree, a measure of what Greek tragedy was. The first hero in Europe who undertook a great journey was the leader of the quest of the Golden Fleece. He was supposed to have lived a generation earlier than the most famous Greek traveler, the hero of the Odyssey. It was, of course, a journey by water. Rivers, lakes, and seas were only highways. There were no roads. All the same, a voyager had to face perils, not only on the deep, but on the land as well. Ships did not sail by night, and any place where sailors put it might harbor a monster or magician who could work more deadly harm than storm and shipwreck. High courage was necessary to travel, especially outside of Greece. No story proved this fact better than the account of what the heroes suffered who sailed the ship Argo to find the Golden Fleece. It may be doubted, indeed, if there ever was such a voyage on which the sailors had to face so many and such varied dangers. However, they were all heroes of renown, some of them the greatest in Greece, and they were quite equal to their adventures. There's still people who, sift for gold using wool over in Afghanistan. The tale of the Golden Fleece begins with a Greek king named Athamas, who got tired of his wife, put her away, and married another, the princess too. Nephele, the first wife, was afraid for her 2 children, especially the boy. Phrixus, she thought the second wife would try to kill him so that her own son could inherit the kingdom. And she was right. This second wife came from a great family. Her father was Cadmus, the excellent king of Thebes. Her mother and her 3 sisters were women of blameless lives, but she herself, Ino, determined to bring about the little boy's death, and she made an elaborate plan how this was to be done. Somehow she got possession of all the seed corn and parched it before the men went out for the sowing, so that of course there was no harvest at all. When the king sent a man to ask the oracle what he should do in this fearful distress, she persuaded, or more probably bribed, the messenger to say that the oracle had declared the corn, the kernels, they're not talking about the yellow, blue, purple, red, stuff more like that, but that the kernels would not grow again unless they offered up the young prince as a sacrifice. The people, threatened with starvation, forced the king to yield and permit the boy's death. To the latter Greeks, the idea of such a sacrifice was as horrible as it is to us, and when it played a part in a story, they almost always changed it into something less shocking, as this tale has come down to us when the boy had been taken to the altar, a wondrous ram, with a fleece of pure gold, snatched him and his sister up, and bore them away through the air. Hermes had sent him in answer to their mother's prayer. While they were crossing the strait which separates Europe and Asia, the girl, whose name was Helle, slipped and fell into the water. She was drowned, and the strait was named for her the Sea of Helle, the Hellespont. The boy came safely to land, to the country of Colchis, on the unfriendly sea, the Black Sea, which had not become friendly. The Colchians were a fierce people. Nevertheless, they were kind to Phrixus and their king. Aetes let him marry one of his daughters. It seemed odd that Phrixus sacrificed to Zeus the ram that had saved him in gratitude for having been saved, but he did so, and he gave the precious golden fleece to King Aetes. And I can't help but think this is some sort of prehistoric, well, a lot of this is prehistoric, but, even, when the water was higher and that sort of stuff following or around the end of the Ice Age sort of thing. This is sort of my indication. Maybe before. Maybe it's talking about a time before.